The sun just decided to shine on you for a moment.
I know. How nice is it to have some sun, though?
Well, Queensland, we get a lot.
So we've had oodles of rain down here. So it's just, this is something I'm really holding on to at the moment, is just how beautiful it is outdoors. I walk around a place called Centennial Park, and the ponds are just full of water at the moment. So little things like that just making me feel, keeping my spirits up there, I think. Yeah.
And I have to say, we have 2 guinea pigs, and I was just...
no, you're going to hate me.
I was just wondering...
Oh dear.
So, your book that's coming out. Let's take one step back before we return to the guinea pigs.
Oh dear. How did you know this? Where is it written somewhere? Oh.
I just had a little look and had a little worry.
Oh dear. I tried to
think
that I didn't think too many people would have, although I obviously now realise that a lot of people do have guinea pigs. But, look, you'll probably read this quite differently, but the poor guinea pig, it's supposed to be a moment of sort of high comedy, farce, but now I'm thinking, oh goodness, if you actually own a guinea pig, you could read that in quite a different way.
So the guinea pig, it dies, right? Does it?
It dies. I'm sorry, poor little.
I grew up with a lot of guinea pig deaths. We actually had a graveyard because we had a lot.
Thing, is it? They're not very.
Well, when I was young, and this was before we knew more about animal keeping in a humane way, but we had an actual walled garden full of guinea pigs. There were 30. My dad very much loves guinea pigs, and they were very well cared for, but obviously they were breeding in there. And so when you have a lot of guinea pigs, they obviously come to the end of their life eventually, and so we would bury them and have a ceremony, and then a cat would dig them up, and then we would bury them again, and then we would have another ceremony. So we had this little graveyard full of for the guinea pigs. I only have 2 rescue guinea pigs. I'm making amends with the world we foster rescued ones, and we've adopted 2. The guinea pigs are a very big part of my life.
Oh my gosh, this is so weird. I feel like the universe has brought us together in some weird way, and I wish you'd told me that story about the cat digging up guinea pigs about 8 months ago, because then I could have included that little anecdote, which is totally brilliant and would have added to the sort of fast comedy of the whole.
Well, the other thing, we had one die. We had a pregnant one we rescued. This is so relevant to the world right now, sorry. But we'd fostered the pregnant guinea pig, and it had all its babies, but the little runt that we try hand fed every 3 hours for a few days, it didn't make it. And so we buried it in my best origami box. I make a lot of, strangely I have one here, but it's full of crystals at the moment. The little origami boxes that we make for trinkets. So I have my best one of those, and we laid the little guinea pig in there, and we're walking it outside while my son was playing a dirge on the recorder very beautifully. And my daughter just turns to me, she just says, "But why do you use your best box, Mum?"
I feel like pets bring out the sociopathic side of children. Like, you think
it's an important learning experience.
But, like, we got a dog about a year ago, and so the dog is, only a year and a bit old, and already the kids are talking about what will happen when the dog dies. Will we get a new one?
And we'll just get a new one. Mine just goes, we can always just get another one.
I know. And you think, oh my gosh, I'm raising future serial killers here. Like, they just have no caring bone in their body. So pets, whereas I'm so attached to them.
Yeah, they do have it come on them. They do all of a sudden then go, hang on a minute, why do I feel sad? And then they would start crying and go, what? Why am I crying?
Yeah, I hope that happens to not that, I'm thinking we're
sure it will.
For another 14 years at least, hopefully until they leave home. But the dog is now my favourite member of the family. So, sorry, kids. Sorry, the kids they're in the back. Sorry, one of them just got angry with me for saying that.
We should talk about the fact, sorry, this is totally derailed. You had a launch booked for very soon. So the End of Cuthbert Close.
Yes. Gosh.
How far away?
A week. Oh my goodness. I started this week on such a low because I obviously came to the realization the launch just couldn't go ahead. And so it wasn't just that event. And I had about just over 100 friends and family who RSVP'd to come. And I was lucky enough to have a launch similarly for my book last year, my first book. And it was one of the best days of my life. Honestly, it was I've joked about this. It was like being at my own funeral because I got to hear all this beautiful eulogizing.
So good. I like that. Yeah.
Oh dear. But so I was really looking forward to this, but also as a chance to say thank you to all the friends and family who had been so wonderful. So obviously that just couldn't happen. And I told my 11-year-old daughter what had happened, and she'd been very much looking forward to it. And she could see I was quite upset about making that decision. And so within an hour or two, she'd written me this beautiful letter, just saying the loveliest things, which was gorgeous. But she also gave me $60. Which probably covers about, the profit I would have made on the event. So, which was all the money she had. So that was lovely. But gosh, the thing about this week is that I've felt almost selfish even worrying about the book and book sales, because I feel like my anxieties about this situation, some of them are macro, and I'm devastated to see what's happening overseas. And the thought of people here losing loved ones is just terrifying. And in that context, book sales and book launching seems a very minor thing to be worried about. But then again, on the other hand, this is my job, and my job is parenting and writing full time because I'm on a book a year contract for the next few years. So my one opportunity to earn an income is through book sales. And while I'm been so heartened by the support from people like you and the writing community generally, which is amazing, I think I'm trying to also be realistic about the fact that people aren't going to be walking into bookshops. My book sold quite a bit through airport retail last year. That obviously is a channel that's now completely gone.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to balance emotions, and at the moment I'm just taking things day by day, and like we were talking about, just appreciating some small things in context of bigger things, I suppose. I don't know. What's your thinking around?
Well, I don't think we can put it on a hierarchy. I don't think. And this, I had a friend, a family member, who used to work in extreme situations overseas, in war zones and things like that. And if she came back and we'd complain about a headache, and then we'd go, and she'd just always say to us, "There's just it's not a competition. There's no scale. There's no hierarchy," because I don't think, for myself, I'm completely delaying my own reaction to the situation by doing this.
Yeah.
So I've just popped that in a compartment for the future.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I feel like we're seeing the best and the worst of people at the moment, which is a very human thing to see. I mean, the brawling in the supermarkets has just made me feel so angry and disgusted over toilet paper.
But then the latest thing being asthma puffers. So it's kind of humorous when people are fighting over toilet paper, because we can continue to live without toilet paper. It might be gross, but we could do that, and we can think of alternatives. But an asthma puffer, if you hoard that and then someone else can't get theirs, and I've got 2 friends who've spent 3 days desperately searching to replace an empty to replace asthma puffers for their children, and the fear there, and then now the children are scared to use it in case they run out. And you think, this is beyond.
That's
you
quite
can't
serious. I mean, we've got two asthmatics in my family, and my daughter has celiac disease, which means she's on a gluten-free diet. And so my husband went to the shops the other day just to get some gluten-free cereal, and of course all the gluten-free wheat bix has gone, which is actually fine because we have other stuff. But it just almost made me giggle to think of now all these people with massive boxes of gluten-free wheat bix, which quite frankly taste disgusting. All these people are now stuck at home with this stuff, and so I'm trying to find lightness and humour amongst the sort of despair and devastation. But it's a fascinating period. It's made me want to journal quite a bit more. So I find periods of intense emotion are actually really useful for inspiration, I suppose, because I know that we'll get through this, and a year from now it will seem like a ridiculous nightmare, and I just want to have a record of sort of how it felt and the things that we were all going through at the time.
Yeah, a lot of people in my writing group were talking about that, and journaling. And when you journal, is it as you, or do you ever do that through a character lens, or?
Yeah, it's always just as me, and my journals are very pedestrian, I would have to say. I've just been reading Helen Garner's Yellow Notebook, and
I haven't read it yet, but yeah.
Blown by the quality of the writing. I'm thinking, does she just dash this off in a notebook? You know, mine's sort of a series of dot points about, you know, no pasta in the supermarket today, which is so utterly mundane, but I think in time that will appear interesting somehow to me. But just the way in which she captures moments is just quite extraordinary. So I wouldn't say mine is anything like that, but you know, it's a high bar to aim towards, that's for sure. But yeah, no, I always do it just as me, and it's always just dot points when I can sort of get some time to do it, I suppose. But that's a really interesting idea, doing it as a character. I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah, I would myself, I would either, because I don't write a diary anymore. I used to a lot when I was young, but now my hands wouldn't cope physically. So I vlog, which I find great because I do much better if I think I'm talking to the imaginary people of the world. But then when my kids say something really poignant, or we have those moments, and I find that easier to type through, imagining, you know, it was a character saying that, or to pop that in there through the lens of someone else. But that's just how I process things, probably.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that, other thing that made me start journaling. I was going to say the other time I started journaling was after I'd had children, and that was the whole motherhood thing was pretty much what set me on the track towards creative writing, because again, motherhood was such an intense emotional roller coaster that I finally felt like I had something to say. But it was capturing the funny things of what they said and what they did, but also the sort of despair and devastation of sleeplessness and not being able to cope with that. That was sort of what set me off, I think. Yeah.
And now we're all going to go through that again.
Yeah, I feel lucky now that I have family surrounding me.
Yeah.
People who are actually on their own, and the extra isolation that they'll be feeling right now. So there is a lot at the moment I feel very grateful for, and I think in time to come, you know, this has taught me a lot about simplicity of living and what actually does matter. So I've also finally learned how to wash my hands at the age of 44, which is handy.
Well, I hope you have some kind of book launch, virtual or in the future, whether you delay or you go online. There are a lot of bookshops are really being quick to come up with new ways to do launches, so that it can still be, and even paid versions, you know, where they still get an income, and so might the author.
Yeah,
so,
bookshops are another sector that has been amazing, bending over backwards to still get the books to people, which is really fantastic. Yeah.
But I hope it all goes all right in the end. And we're always here. Everyone's here, ready for a chat.
Likewise, Anna. I wish you and your book all the best. I feel particularly for debut authors, and it's hard anyway, and this provides an extra level of challenge. But rest assured, people like me and others will be out there buying your book for sure.
Oh, thank you. Everyone's been so helpful. I'm really grateful to be part of a community that can support me, who has no idea what she's doing. So that's very helpful.
None of us do. Join the club.
Don't tell the children. All right.
I think they already know.
Oh dear. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for coming on. And
Thank you, Anna. I really do appreciate it. Honestly, that moments like this that have just given me such confidence about getting through this situation.
We will. We're not that far apart.
No, not at all.
Not now.
Okay. Bye.
The number you have dialed has been changed.